Society has programmed you to believe that being tired is normal, that struggling is acceptable, that mediocrity is inevitable. They want you to think that successful people just got lucky, that wealthy people just had advantages, that achievers just had better opportunities. But here's the uncomfortable truth. They don't want you to know every single person who has ever accomplished anything significant did it by doing what unsuccessful people refuse to do before 8 a.m. The system keeps you broke, tired, and distracted because people who master their mornings become ungovernable, unstoppable, and impossible to control. Change begins not when you make a resolution, not when you write a goal, not when you tell someone about your dreams. Change begins when your eyes open in the morning and you make that split-second decision about who you're going to be today. Right now, as you sit here listening to these words, there are millions of people around the world making the most important decision of their day, and they don't even know it. They're deciding whether to take control of their life or let their life control them. And it all happens in those first few precious moments when consciousness returns. You see, there's something happening in your brain right now that most people never understand. The moment you wake up, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. Now, the medical world calls this the stress hormone, but I want you to think of it differently. I want you to think of it as the decision-making hormone. For the first 30 to 45 minutes after you wake up, your brain has more power to make clear, focused decisions than it will have for the rest of the entire day. Your willpower is at its peak. Your mental clarity is at its sharpest. Your ability to choose your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions is stronger than it will be at any other time in the next 16 hours. But what do most people do with this incredible gift? They waste it. They grab their phone and start scrolling through other people's problems. They turn on the news and fill their mind with fear and negativity. They rush around in a panic, reacting to whatever demands are screaming the loudest. They give away their most powerful moments to the chaos of the world instead of using them to create the life they truly want. Let me tell you about Janet. 3 years ago, Janet was a single mother working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet. Every morning, she would wake up to the sound of her alarm clock, already feeling defeated before her feet hit the floor. She would stumble to the coffee maker, check her phone to see what bills were due, what problems had emerged overnight, what crisis needed her immediate attention. By the time she got her kids ready for school and rushed off to her first job, she was already exhausted, already stressed, already feeling like she was fighting a losing battle. One day, Janet made a decision that changed everything. She decided to wake up 1 hour earlier than usual, not to do more work, but to do something different. Instead of reaching for her phone, she reached for a notebook. Instead of checking her problems, she started writing down her dreams. Instead of filling her mind with other people's emergencies, she filled it with her own possibilities. She spent that first hour of every morning reading books about business, about personal development, about financial freedom. She spent time thinking about the kind of life she wanted to create for herself and her children. Within 6 months, Janet had started a small catering business from her kitchen. Within a year, she had quit both of her jobs and was making more money working for herself than she had ever made working for others. Within 2 years, she had bought her first home. Today, Janet owns 3 restaurants and has created jobs for over 40 people in her community. But it all started with what she did in that first hour of each morning. Now, Janet didn't have special talents that you don't have. She didn't have advantages that you don't have. She didn't have more time than you have. What Janet had was the wisdom to understand that her morning was not just the beginning of her day, it was the foundation of her life. She understood that the thoughts she thought, the emotions she felt, and the actions she took in those first precious minutes would determine the quality of every hour that followed. You see, your subconscious mind is like a computer that gets programmed every single morning. Whatever you put into it in those first 30 minutes becomes the operating system for your entire day. If you put in fear, worry, and chaos, that's what your mind will produce all day long. If you put in hope, vision, and purpose, that's what will guide your thoughts, your emotions, and your decisions for the next 16 hours. Most people live their entire lives in reaction mode. They wake up and immediately start reacting to whatever is happening around them. The phone rings, they react. An email comes in, they react. A problem emerges, they react. They spend their whole day putting out fires instead of building their dreams. But when you take control of your morning, you shift from reaction mode to creation mode. Instead of letting circumstances dictate your day, you decide what kind of day you're going to have. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is not talent, it's not luck, it's not even opportunity. The difference is in how they use their morning hours. Successful people understand that morning is not just a time of day, it's a state of mind. It's when you connect with your purpose, align with your values, and commit to your goals. It's when you feed your mind with positive thoughts, your spirit with inspiration, and your body with energy. When you wake up tomorrow morning, you have a choice to make. You can hit the snooze button and delay the start of your real life, or you can use those first precious minutes to program your mind for success, for joy, for achievement, for everything you've ever dreamed of becoming. The alarm clock is not just waking you up from sleep, it's calling you to wake up to your potential, to your power, to your purpose. Your morning routine is not just about what you do, it's about who you become.
Every morning, you have the opportunity to be reborn, to start fresh, to choose again. And the choices you make in those first few minutes will echo through every hour of your day, every day of your week, every week of your year, and every year of your life. This is why your morning doesn't just decide your day. Your morning decides your life.
Your morning routine is actually constructing the mental building where you live all day long. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every action you take in those first sacred hours is laying the foundation, building the walls, and designing the rooms of your mental space. And here's what most people don't understand. You're either building a palace or a prison, and the choice is entirely yours. Scientists have discovered something remarkable about the human brain. They call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated patterns of thought and behavior. But what they found is even more incredible than that. The patterns you create in the first hour of your day have 10 times more impact on your neural pathways than patterns created at any other time. Your morning thoughts don't just influence your day, they literally reshape your brain. Let me tell you about Thomas. 5 years ago, Thomas was working the night shift at a manufacturing plant, living paycheck to paycheck, convinced that his circumstances would never change. He had grown up poor. His parents had worked factory jobs their entire lives, and he believed that manual labor was his destiny. Every morning when he woke up, the first thing he would do was turn on the television to watch the news. His mind would be flooded with stories of economic problems, political conflicts, and social unrest. By the time he got to work, he was already feeling hopeless, already believing that the world was against people like him. But Thomas discovered something that changed everything. He learned that the most successful entrepreneurs in the world all had one thing in common. They protected their morning mind like it was the most valuable real estate on earth. So Thomas decided to conduct an experiment. Instead of turning on the television when he woke up, he started listening to audiobooks about business and success. Instead of filling his mind with problems he couldn't control, he started filling it with solutions he could implement. Within 3 months, Thomas had a completely different outlook on life. Within 6 months, he had started a small business repairing electronics in his spare time. Within 2 years, he had quit his factory job and was running his own electronics repair service. Today, Thomas owns 5 repair shops across the city and employs 23 people. But the transformation didn't start with a business plan or a loan from the bank. It started with what he put into his mind during those first precious minutes of each day. You see, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined, between what's happening to you and what you're thinking about. When you fill your morning mind with positive images, successful outcomes, and empowering beliefs, your subconscious begins to accept these as your reality. It starts looking for opportunities to make them true. It begins to guide your decisions, your conversations, and your actions toward making those mental images become physical realities. But when you fill your morning mind with fear, worry, and limitation, your subconscious accepts that as your reality too. It starts looking for evidence that life is hard, that success is for other people, that you're not capable of achieving your dreams. It begins to guide you toward thoughts, words, and actions that confirm these limiting beliefs. The compound effect of your morning mental input is absolutely staggering. If you spend just 30 minutes every morning feeding your mind with positive, empowering, success-oriented information, you will literally rewire your brain for achievement within 90 days. Your confidence will increase, your creativity will expand, your problem-solving ability will improve, and your capacity for success will multiply exponentially. This is why successful people are so protective of their morning hours. They understand that what they put into their mind during this critical time doesn't just affect how they feel, it affects who they become. Your morning mental diet is not just food for thought, it's the blueprint for your entire life. Most people spend their highest energy on their lowest priorities because they never learned the morning energy allocation secret. They wake up with a full tank of mental, physical, and emotional energy, and then they pour it all out on activities that don't matter, problems that aren't theirs to solve, and distractions that steal their power. By the time they get to the things that could actually change their life, they're running on empty. Energy is not unlimited. You don't get to use as much as you want whenever you want. Every human being wakes up each morning with a finite amount of decision-making energy, creative energy, and willpower energy. Scientists call this decision fatigue, the deteriorating quality of decisions made after a long session of decision-making. But what most people don't realize is that this energy depletion starts the moment you wake up and begins making choices about how to spend your morning. When you check your phone first thing in the morning, you're not just looking at messages, you're making hundreds of micro decisions about what to respond to, what to worry about, what to feel angry about, what to feel anxious about. When you turn on the news, you're not just getting information, you're forcing your brain to process and react to dozens of situations that you have absolutely no control over. When you rush through your morning routine without intention, you're not just getting ready for your day, you're training your mind to operate in chaos mode for the next 16 hours. But when you understand the energy investment principle, everything changes. You begin to treat your morning energy like the precious resource it is. You invest it in activities that multiply your power rather than activities that drain it. You use it to build momentum rather than to react to circumstances. Let me tell you about Lisa. 2 years ago, Lisa was a corporate executive making good money but feeling completely overwhelmed and unfulfilled. She would wake up every morning already thinking about the meeting she had to attend, the email she had to answer, the problem she had to solve. By the time she got to the office, she had already spent most of her creative energy worrying about things that hadn't even happened yet. She was exhausted before she even started working on the projects that mattered most. Lisa's breakthrough came when she learned about biological prime time, the natural rhythm of energy and focus that every human being experiences throughout the day. For most people, peak mental performance happens in the first 2 to 4 hours after waking up. This is when your brain is most capable of deep thinking, creative problem solving, and strategic planning. This is when you can do your best work with the least amount of effort. So Lisa made a radical decision. Instead of spending her peak energy hours in reactive mode, she decided to spend them in creative mode. She started waking up 2 hours earlier than usual, not to work longer, but to work smarter. During those first 2 hours of each day, she would work on her most important projects, the ones that could actually advance her career and increase her income. She would write proposals, develop strategies, create presentations, and solve complex problems while her mind was fresh and her focus was laser sharp. The results were immediate and dramatic. The quality of her work improved so significantly that her boss noticed within the first month. The projects she completed during her morning power hours were so much better than anything she had produced before that she was promoted twice in 18 months. But more importantly, Lisa discovered that by using her peak energy for her highest priorities, she actually had more energy throughout the rest of the day, not less. This is the paradox of energy investment. When you spend your best energy on your best opportunities, you don't run out of energy faster. You actually generate more energy. When you use your morning hours for activities that align with your goals and values, you create what psychologists call intrinsic motivation, energy that comes from within rather than from external pressure or rewards. Your body is designed to support what your mind is focused on. When you start your morning with physical movement, whether it's exercise, stretching, or even just walking, you're not just improving your physical health, you're actually increasing your mental capacity for the entire day. Movement increases blood flow to the brain, releases endorphins that improve mood and focus, and creates what neuroscientists call brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that helps your brain form new neural connections and learn more effectively. The food you eat in the morning doesn't just fuel your body, it fuels your brain. When you start your day with processed foods, sugar, and caffeine crashes, you're programming your brain for energy spikes and crashes throughout the day. But when you start with protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates, you're creating steady, sustained energy that supports clear thinking and consistent performance for hours. The conversations you have in the morning set the emotional tone for your entire day. When you start with complaints, gossip, and negativity, you're priming your brain to look for problems and obstacles all day long. But when you start with encouragement, gratitude, and possibility, you're priming your brain to look for opportunities and solutions. Most people think they don't have time for a proper morning routine. They say they're too busy, too rushed, too overwhelmed. But the truth is, they don't have time not to have a proper morning routine. Every minute you invest in your morning multiplies into hours of increased productivity, better decisions, and higher performance throughout your day. The energy investment principle is simple. Invest your best energy in your best opportunities during your best hours, and everything else becomes easier. When you master your morning energy allocation, you don't just change your day, you multiply your life. When you master your morning, you don't just change your day. You establish psychological dominance over every challenge that follows. There's something that happens in the human psyche when you win the first battle of the day. It's not just confidence, it's not just momentum, it's a fundamental shift in how you see yourself in relationship to your circumstances. Instead of feeling like life is happening to you, you start feeling like you are happening to life. The dominance effect begins with what psychologists call the first victory principle. Every single day presents you with countless micro battles: the battle to get out of bed when the alarm goes off, the battle to choose healthy food over junk food, the battle to focus on priorities instead of distractions, the battle to respond with wisdom instead of react with emotion. Most people lose these battles without even realizing they're fighting them. They hit the snooze button, they grab whatever food is convenient, they check social media instead of working on their goals, they let their emotions control their responses. But when you win that first battle, when you get up when your alarm goes off, when you do what you plan to do instead of what you feel like doing, when you take control of your morning instead of letting your morning control you, something powerful happens in your brain. You prove to yourself that you have the power to overcome resistance, that you can do hard things, that you are stronger than your circumstances. And this internal proof becomes the foundation for every decision you make for the rest of the day. Let me tell you about Michael. 3 years ago, Michael was struggling with what he called the afternoon collapse. Every day he would start with good intentions, But by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, he would find himself overwhelmed, unfocused, and ready to give up on his goals. He would procrastinate on important tasks, make poor food choices, and spend hours scrolling through his phone instead of working on the business he wanted to start. He felt like he was living 2 different lives. The motivated person he was in the morning and the defeated person he became in the afternoon. Michael's transformation began when he understood that his afternoon problems were actually morning problems in disguise. The reason he collapsed in the afternoon was because he never established dominance in the morning. He would wake up and immediately check his email, letting other people's priorities determine his mood and energy. He would skip breakfast or grab something unhealthy, setting his blood sugar on a roller coaster that would crash by midday. He would rush through his morning routine, starting his day in reactive chaos mode instead of intentional control mode. So Michael created what he called his morning dominance routine. The first thing he would do when he woke up was make his bed, not because it was important to have a tidy bedroom, but because it was important to win the first battle of the day. Then he would do 20 push-ups, not because he was trying to build muscle, but because he was trying to build the mental strength that comes from doing something difficult when you don't feel like doing it. Then he would spend 15 minutes reading something that inspired him and aligned with his goals, not because the information was new, but because he was programming his mind for success instead of allowing it to be programmed by circumstances. Within 6 months, Michael's entire life had changed. The afternoon collapse disappeared completely. His focus and energy remained steady throughout the day. His productivity increased so dramatically that he was able to start the business he had been dreaming about for years. But the most significant change was in his relationship with challenges and obstacles. Instead of feeling overwhelmed when problems arose, he felt excited. Instead of looking for excuses when things got difficult, he looked for solutions. Instead of feeling like a victim of his circumstances, he felt like the architect of his destiny. This is what happens when you establish morning dominance. You develop what I call challenge immunity. You stop seeing obstacles as threats and start seeing them as opportunities to prove your strength. You stop seeing problems as reasons to quit and start seeing them as chances to grow. You stop seeing setbacks as evidence that you're not capable and start seeing them as temporary detours on the road to your destination. The ripple effect of morning discipline extends far beyond your personal productivity. When you master your morning, you become a different kind of person in your relationships. You're more patient with your family because you're not operating from a place of internal chaos. You're more confident in your career because you know you have the discipline to follow through on your commitments. You're more attractive to opportunities because you carry yourself like someone who has their life together. People can sense when someone has established dominance over their own life. There's something in the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they handle pressure that communicates strength and reliability. Employers want to promote these people. Investors want to fund their projects. Partners want to build with them. Children want to follow their example. But morning dominance isn't just about external results. It's about internal transformation. When you prove to yourself every single day that you can overcome resistance, that you can do hard things, that you can keep commitments to yourself, you develop what psychologists call self-efficacy, the belief in your own ability to succeed in specific situations. This belief becomes the foundation for every goal you set, every risk you take, every dream you pursue. Most people live their entire lives feeling like they're not in control. They feel like victims of their genetics, their circumstances, their past, their environment. They spend their days reacting to whatever happens to them instead of creating what they want to happen. But when you master your morning, you break free from this victim mentality. You prove to yourself that you have the power to choose your thoughts, control your actions, and create your outcomes. The dominance effect is not about dominating other people. It's about dominating the parts of yourself that keep you small, the habits that hold you back, the fears that prevent you from becoming who you're meant to be. When you establish morning dominance, you're not just changing your routine, you're changing your relationship with your own potential. You're proving to yourself that you are capable of greatness, worthy of success, and deserving of the life you've always dreamed of living. Here's what most people don't understand about consistency. It's not just about doing the same thing every day. It's about becoming the same kind of person every day. When you master your morning routine, you're not just creating habits, you're creating character. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, intention over impulse, purpose over pleasure, you're strengthening the part of yourself that can handle bigger challenges, greater responsibilities, and higher levels of success. The beautiful thing about morning dominance is that it's completely within your control. You can't control what happens to you during the day, but you can absolutely control what happens during your morning. You can't control other people's attitudes, but you can control your own. You can't control market conditions, but you can control your preparation. You can't control opportunities, but you can control your readiness for them. Think about this for a moment. Every single person who has ever achieved anything significant in this world had to overcome the same basic human tendency toward comfort and mediocrity. They had to wake up when they didn't feel like it, work when they didn't want to, persist when they felt like quitting.
The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is not in their circumstances, it's in their daily choices. And those daily choices begin every single morning. When you establish morning dominance, you join an elite group of people who refuse to let their feelings dictate their actions. You become part of a minority who understand that discipline is not punishment, it's freedom. You align yourself with those who know that temporary discomfort leads to permanent improvement, while temporary comfort leads to permanent regret. Your morning routine becomes your daily declaration of independence from mediocrity, your personal rebellion against average, your private revolution against settling for less than you're capable of. Every morning you have the opportunity to vote for the person you want to become with your actions, your choices, your commitment to excellence. The compound effect of this daily dominance is absolutely staggering. When you win the morning for 30 days, you build momentum. When you win it for 90 days, you build confidence. When you win it for a year, you build a completely new identity. You become someone who does what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it, regardless of how they feel in the moment. This is why morning dominance isn't just about personal productivity. It's about personal transformation. You're not just changing what you do, you're changing who you are. And when you change who you are, everything else in your life begins to change as well.
Your morning routine isn't just about today, it's about the person you're becoming and the legacy you're building. Every single morning you wake up, you're not just choosing how to spend the next 16 hours, you're choosing who you're going to be for the rest of your life. You're writing the story that your children will tell their children about who you were and what you stood for. You're creating the example that will either inspire or discourage the people who are watching your life from a distance. Legacy is not something you think about when you're old. Legacy is something you build every single day while you're young. Legacy is not what people say about you at your funeral. Legacy is what people experience when they're around you while you're alive. And your legacy begins every morning with the choice between hitting the snooze button or hitting the ground running, between checking your phone or checking your purpose, between starting your day in reaction mode or creation mode. Let me tell you about Catherine. 10 years ago, Catherine was a young mother struggling to balance her career, her family, and her own personal dreams. Every morning felt like a battle just to survive the day, let alone thrive in it. She would wake up already feeling behind, already feeling overwhelmed, already feeling like she wasn't enough for all the demands on her life. Her children would see her stressed and rushed every morning, and she worried that she was teaching them that adulthood meant constant pressure and never-ending anxiety. One day, Catherine's 8-year-old daughter asked her a question that changed everything. She said, "Mommy, why do you always look sad in the morning?" That question hit Catherine like a lightning bolt. She realized that her morning energy was not just affecting her own day, it was shaping her children's understanding of what it means to be an adult, what it means to have responsibility, what it means to pursue dreams while handling duties. So Catherine made a decision that would transform not just her life, but the lives of everyone in her family for generations to come. She decided to become the kind of person she wanted her children to remember. She decided to model the kind of morning routine she hoped they would develop when they became adults. She decided to show them that you don't have to choose between being responsible and being joyful, between handling pressure and maintaining peace. Catherine started waking up 1 hour earlier than her family. She used that hour to do things that filled her soul and strengthened her spirit. She would read, she would pray, she would exercise, she would plan her day with intention instead of just reacting to whatever happened. By the time her children woke up, Catherine was centered, peaceful, and genuinely excited about the day ahead. The transformation in her family was immediate and profound. Her children started waking up to a mother who was calm instead of chaotic, focused instead of frazzled, purposeful instead of reactive. They began to see morning as a time of possibility rather than a time of stress. They started asking if they could wake up early with her, wanting to be part of whatever was making their mother so happy and peaceful. Today, Catherine's children are grown, and every single one of them has a powerful morning routine. They've passed this gift on to their own children, and every single one of them has a powerful morning routine. They've passed this gift on to their own children. They've built careers, relationships, and lives that reflect the principles they learned by watching their mother choose intention over impulse every single morning for years. Catherine didn't just change her own life, she changed the trajectory of her entire family tree. This is the true power of your morning routine. It's not just personal, it's generational. The habits you build today become the inheritance you leave tomorrow. The discipline you develop becomes the legacy you pass down. The character you create becomes the gift you give to everyone whose life intersects with yours. Your morning routine is a statement about what you believe is possible for human beings. When you choose excellence in those early hours, you're declaring that people can overcome their circumstances, that they can do hard things, that they can become better than they were yesterday. When you choose mediocrity in the morning, you're accepting that people are victims of their feelings, slaves to their impulses, prisoners of their past. But here's what I want you to understand. Your legacy is not just about the big moments, the major achievements, the dramatic victories. Your legacy is being written in the small moments, the daily choices, the private victories that nobody else sees. Every morning you choose discipline over comfort. You're building the foundation for a life that matters.
Every morning you choose growth over safety, you're creating a story worth telling. The ripple effects of your morning choices extend far beyond your immediate family. The way you show up at work, the energy you bring to your relationships, the example you set in your community, all of this is shaped by what you do in those first precious hours of each day. When you master your morning, you become the kind of person others want to follow, the kind of leader others want to work with, the kind of friend others want to be around. Right now, there are people watching your life who need to see that it's possible to change, possible to grow, possible to become something greater than your current circumstances. They need to see that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they're willing to start their day with extraordinary intention. Your morning routine isn't just about your success, it's about giving others permission to pursue their own. So let me ask you a question. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? What kind of story do you want your life to tell? What kind of example do you want to set for the people who come after you? Because the answer to those questions should determine what you do tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
Here's what I want you to do starting tomorrow. I want you to design a morning routine that reflects the person you want to become, not the person you currently are. I want you to choose 3 activities that will feed your mind, strengthen your body, and align your spirit with your highest values. I want you to commit to this routine for 90 days, not because it will be easy, but because it will be worth it. For the first 30 days, you're building momentum. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can keep commitments to yourself, that you have more strength than you realize. For the second 30 days, you're building confidence. You're starting to see real changes in your energy, your focus, your results. You're beginning to believe that transformation is not just possible, it's inevitable. For the final 30 days, you're building a new identity. You're no longer someone who's trying to change. You're someone who has changed. You're no longer hoping for a better life. You're living it. You're no longer dreaming about your potential. You're fulfilling it. But remember this, transformation is not a destination, it's a direction. Greatness is not something you achieve once, it's something you choose daily. Excellence is not an event, it's a habit. And it all begins tomorrow morning when your alarm goes off and you have the opportunity to choose who you're going to be. The sun is going to rise tomorrow, whether you're ready or not. The day is going to begin, whether you're prepared or not. The opportunities are going to present themselves, whether you're equipped or not. But you have the power to decide what kind of person greets that sunrise, what kind of mind encounters that day, what kind of spirit embraces those opportunities. Your morning doesn't just decide your day. Your morning decides your life, and your life decides your legacy. The choice is yours, the time is now, and the moment to begin is tomorrow, when you open your eyes and choose to become the person you were always meant to be. But let me be absolutely clear about something. This is not just a nice idea to think about. This is not just a motivational concept to make you feel good for a few minutes. This is a life or death decision about the quality of your existence on this earth. Every morning you delay making this change is another day you're choosing to live below your potential. Every morning you hit that snooze button is another morning you're telling the universe that your dreams can wait, that your goals aren't urgent, that your life isn't worth fighting for. There are people right now who are building the life you say you want while you're still making excuses about why you can't start. There are people right now who had fewer advantages than you, less education than you, less money than you, but they understood something you haven't understood yet, that waiting for the perfect moment is just another form of giving up. They understood that the perfect moment is right now, the perfect day is tomorrow, and the perfect time is when your alarm goes off. You see, success leaves clues, and if you study the morning routines of the most successful people in any field, business, sports, art, science, ministry, you find that they all have one thing in common. They all treated their morning hours like sacred time. They all understood that what you do when nobody's watching determines what you'll accomplish when everybody's watching. They all knew that private victories always precede public victories. But here's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. It's not that successful people don't feel like staying in bed, it's that they get up anyway. It's not that they don't have days when they're tired, it's that they move anyway. It's not that they don't face the same human temptations toward comfort and ease, it's that they choose growth anyway. The difference is not in their feelings, it's in their commitment to act regardless of their feelings. I want you to understand something about commitment that will change how you think about your morning routine forever. Commitment is not about what you do when you feel like it. Anybody can do that. Commitment is about what you do when you don't feel like it. Commitment is about getting up when you want to stay in bed. Commitment is about exercising when you want to sit down. Commitment is about reading when you want to watch television. Commitment is about praying when you want to complain. Commitment is about planning when you want to procrastinate. And here's the beautiful truth about commitment. The more you honor your commitments to yourself, the easier it becomes to honor them. The more you prove to yourself that you can be trusted with small promises, the more confident you become about making bigger promises. The more you demonstrate to yourself that you have the power to change your actions, the more you believe in your power to change your life. Your morning routine is your daily appointment with destiny. It's your private meeting with the person you're becoming. It's your personal conversation with your potential. And just like any important appointment,
You can show up on time and prepared, or you can show up late and unprepared, or you can not show up at all. But understand this, destiny will not reschedule the meeting. Potential will not wait forever. The person you're capable of becoming has an expiration date, and that date is determined by how many mornings you're willing to invest in becoming that person. So tomorrow morning, when that alarm goes off, I want you to remember that it's not just an alarm clock, it's an opportunity clock. It's not just waking you up from sleep, it's calling you to wake up to your greatness. It's not just the beginning of another day, it's the beginning of the rest of your life.